Good morning, everybody. So I think it's live now. Let me double check. Burp, 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 burp. Yeah, okay. So this morning, it's Friday morning. Before we get started into the show, I wanted to share with you guys a parable that I heard, and I think they can be super helpful. Just, in general in life. So essentially, this is an old one. I forget where it came from now at this point, but there was a farmer that had a horse, and the horse ran away. When the horse ran away, the neighbor came over and said, "Well, that's some bad luck." And the farmer said, "Maybe." The next day, the horse came back with 3 wild horses. And the neighbor came over and noticed the new wild horses and said, "Well, that's some good luck." And the farmer said, "Maybe." The next day, his son was breaking one of the horses, one of the new wild horses, and fell off the horse and broke his leg. His neighbors came over and said, "Well, that's some bad luck." And the farmer said, "Maybe." The next day, the military came to draft young men into the war, and when they saw that the farmer's son had a broken leg, they passed over him. The neighbor came over and said, "Well, that's lucky." And the farmer said, "Maybe." Anyways, just want to share that with you guys today. I think it's a good one, but let's get into it. What's up, sons? It's Blind Run with Son of a Tech once again, and welcome to the Crypto Mining Show, your one-stop shop for all cryptocurrency news from the perspective of a cryptocurrency miner. My online persona is Blind Run, and that comes from playing video games way back in the day, as far as Counter-Strike, all the way to Halo 2, etc. My in real life name is Matthew, and today we have some fun topics. We finally have that release of T-Rex Miner 25.12 that everybody has been super excited about. We're going to talk about a Mailchimp data breach that extends not only to crypto companies like Trezor, but beyond that as well. Then we're going to be talking about the RTX 30 graphics cards restocked and reloaded. We are experiencing a decrease in the GPU shortage. Or an increase of GPUs, a decrease of the shortage itself. There we go. Then we have some benchmark leaks, specifically the Geekbench OpenCL leak for the Intel Arc A770. So there you go. That's pretty cool. And Twitter closes down on session as Musk calls for shareholder vote. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. And we're going to cover the market just a tad, specifically how some chip manufacturing companies are approaching reporting basically revenue from cryptocurrency sales and, well, actually not reporting them, which is kind of interesting. And then we'll be talking about mining profitability for the day and get on from there. Thanks for being here today. Before we get into it all, as always, here's a word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is BT Miners. Purchasing mining equipment online can be dangerous. With all of the fake storefronts and scams, it can be hard to find a reliable source. That's why when BT Miners reached out for a channel sponsorship, I started by verifying that ordering and delivery went smoothly with a purchase of my own. If you are looking to purchase ASICs hardware from Bitcoin to Dogecoin miners, they are available for purchase on bt-miners.com. BT Miners is a trusted source by both asicminervalue.com and cryptominer.com. Follow the affiliate link in the description and use promo code FREESHIPPING2021 for free shipping on your order. Boom, and we're back. So thank you everybody for being here. Make sure you hit the like button and go ahead and share the stream out if you find it helpful. And I hope you're having, I know a lot of people are off today. Hope you're having a good Easter weekend, a good Friday. And we're going to get into the topics right off the bat. We have T-Rex 25.12. And it was released 4 hours ago. It's been in beta for a while. A lot of y'all have been telling me about it. I haven't tested it yet, but now I feel a lot better about getting into testing it. So we have ETH hash Improve light hash rate unlock functionality. Dual modes in AutoLeakos 2 light hash rate performance is unchanged. Expect about 78 to 79% in normal mode and 75% in low power mode. And you can see the light hash rate low power mode switch here. So the other thing is they changed the default value of LHR auto tune mode parameter to down. It used to be full. Here are the bug fixes. Linux memory temperature is not displayed on some GDDR6X cards. That has been resolved apparently. And then they say make sure you remove any light hash rate tune settings you may have in your existing configuration. The miner will calibrate the unlocker and the hash rate should go up to its normal level in about a minute after the miner displays calibration finished message. The recommended drivers on Linux is going to be 470.xx or newer. And that's obviously for, of course, NVIDIA only, as T-Rex is NVIDIA only. And on Windows, it's going to be driver version 512.xx, although 472 does work fine as well, they note. A few tips if you experience frequent light hash rate locks. It says, number one, make sure you don't have monitors connected to your light hash rate cards, or at least turn them off during miner startup to let it calibrate correctly. It also notes to avoid using RDP if it puts load on your light hash rate cards. So if you have an Intel CPU that has integrated graphics or an APU that has integrated graphics, make sure that's enabled in the BIOS. That should get around the RDP issue for you guys. Number two, it says, do not delay applying overclock. This will mess up calibration results and the miner will display unrealistically high light hash rate tune values. And this is one that I wanted to point out because I was seeing like what appeared to me to be some unrealistic reports of hash rate. This appears to be the issue. So that's not true hash rate. Make sure that you guys are not applying the overclock afterwards, meaning the overclock needs to be locked in on the GPUs before you go ahead and start utilizing the new miner. This is also going to cause a ton of miscommunication and confusion throughout the community, the mining community in general. So when you see, oh, I'm using T-Rex miner and I'm getting, 100 mega hash a second on an RTX 3080 Ti, be careful because that might not be true. It might show it in the software. They might get you a cool screenshot and then you're trying to wonder, why is this not working for me? Well, this is why. Okay. So be a little bit careful there. Be realistic about your numbers, basically. And then try reducing memory overclock of the GPU that frequently trips light hash rate. So that can be the standard there if you're having issues there as far as it relocking and so on. There's all the tips. Very exciting release from, of course, T-Rex miner. And especially exciting because we definitely have that extra few months at the very least for mining Ethereum. Next, I wanted to bring to y'all's attention that I got an email from Trezor yesterday and they had a Mailchimp data breach. We're going to go over the information here. Now, my understanding is this Mailchimp data breach is not just for essentially Trezor. There's a lot of other companies that are experiencing this, and because of the data breach, because of it being Mailchimp, which is basically for the uninitiated, a very widely used email application for businesses, it is possible that you can start getting some phishing attacks from official domains, right? So it may be like, hey, reset the password on your Trezor shop account. But it's coming directly from Trezor, but it's not actually Trezor sending you that. You need to be very careful in your emails right now. And I think I even mentioned this yesterday. I was like, there's so much spam in the mailbox. It's already hard to determine which bills I owe and which bills I don't. Make sure you have some budgeting software going on there and you are aware of where those are and manually going in. Another tip here that I get a lot too, and this is for phone phishing, is there's a lot of phone phishing going on lately as well. They'll try to either convince you that you owe some debt or that they're checking, your credit card or whatever it may be, upping your balance, whatnot. The phone calls typically go just like you would expect, like a creditor to call you. They'll give you a call. They'll say, hey, is this, John Smith? And you'll say, yes, it's John Smith. And they'll say, hey, is your birthday April 2nd, 2005 or whatever, and you say, no, I do not answer personal information questions over the phone. Make sure you guys do that and just hang up on them. In most cases, if it's a legitimate company, funny enough, the legitimate company will say, okay, we're terminating the call. If it's not a legitimate company, they'll try to use some sort of fear tactic like, well, you owe this money, we're going to blah, 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 we're going to get you, that sort of thing, to try to influence you to go ahead and give them personal information. They'll try to validate, your social security number. They'll try to validate your phone number, all that sort of stuff. Be very, very careful when you're receiving these spam calls and spam emails. Just a couple tips for you guys to, stay locked down. Don't click any links in emails. I know to a lot of you guys, this seems like basic information, but we're just going to talk about it because this is going to get a lot worse, I think, over the next year, especially as the economy goes on a downturn. You usually start getting a lot more of these, like, essentially just different phishing attacks and so on. Just be careful out there, boys. Let's talk about the details, though. And this is just in my Google Doc here, but details of the Mailchimp data breach. The email contains details of a data breach which compromised our mailing provider between February and April 2nd, 2022. The attack saw Mailchimp employees being phished for privileged access to customer accounts, resulting in the theft of email addresses and, in some cases, names and subscribers and other data. Below, you will find the specific data belonging to you which was stolen in the attack. And here's the data stolen in the attack was your email address, your IP address, and an approximate location based on your internet provider. It is disappointing, of course, that all of this stuff is being tracked by Trezor on their shop accounts, on their affiliate accounts too. I have an affiliate account with them. Obviously, I've been, my data has been leaked within this as well, unfortunately. So here's some additional information, though. It says, please use this information to protect yourself and be wary of any incoming mail, as the targeted data is being used to send phishing emails to your inbox. Avoid clicking on any links in the emails and never enter your seed into a computer without your Trezor device telling you to do so. This is the latest information we have following a week of investigation and reluctant cooperation from Mailchimp's senior security staff. You will find a timeline of events on the Trezor blog, but we will not be providing any links here so this message does not get confused with a phishing attempt. For inquiries, please contact the security team at security@satoshilabs.com. You will not receive any more emails from Trezor via Mailchimp. Given the broad scope of the attack, it is important that you remain on alert for phishing attacks coming from other sources, as hundreds of other brands and projects which have not yet been disclosed were also targeted. Luckily enough, what Trezor is doing here is telling you essentially what kind of issues that they have, right? And I think and telling you that there are other companies that are basically compromised at this point. It can be within cryptocurrency, traditional finance, your whatever shopping accounts, and so on. Be careful out there, boys. Make sure that you are paying attention. Another thing, like I said, that's disappointing, unfortunately, when we talk about hardware wallets and so on, if you have security breaches, even something in this case, right, where it's their mailing service, you may have signed up for an account with them. It doesn't necessarily attach to the Trezor unit because you aren't having necessarily your hardware wallet linked to that account. There were a few times where this has happened with Ledger, but it does reduce, the confidence within that company's products, because at the end of the day, as a cryptocurrency company, this should be paramount in pretty much all of your dealings. Like I said, I give props to Trezor for notifying everybody, making sure that they're aware of the issue, that sort of thing. But any kind of KYC, even if it is just your email and your IP address and that sort of stuff, can be very dangerous, especially if you're a content creator or if you're like an influencer on Twitter or whatever it may be, you want to be extra careful surrounding it. So there you go. Let's go ahead and hop into the good news for the day. RTX 30 graphics cards restocked and reloaded. Coming from WCCF Tech by Jason Wilson, who writes a lot of this stuff. He says the NVIDIA RTX 30 series graphics cards are now restocked and reloaded as stated by the company today. The list of NVIDIA RTX 30 series graphics cards that are back in stock are the complete lines, including the 3090 Ti, the 3090, the 3080 Ti, the 3080, the 3070 Ti, the 3070, the 3060 Ti, the 3060, and of course the 3050. Also, NVIDIA features desktop systems from partnering manufacturers such as Digital Storm, NZXT, Main Gear, CyberPower 3050, and then NZXT 3050 as well. So those specific GPUs within each one of those units. Partnering companies seeing NVIDIA GeForce RTX 30 series cards are EVGA, Zotac, Gigabyte, Asus, MSI, and PNY Technologies. Get the ultimate play with immersive ray tracing, blah, blah, blah. We don't need to read that. That's just basically going to be propaganda to get you to buy one if you're a gamer. Readers will remember in August of 2021, we reported that the RTX 30 series of NVIDIA GeForce graphics cards were to be limited supply until September due to pandemic regulations. The drop was significant, limiting the stock of cards to almost 50% less for manufacturers. But 2022 has so far been positive. This month, Asus lowered the prices on all RTX 30 series cards in an aggressive strategy to acquire sales and persuade customers to their brand above one of their competitors. Now, all other manufacturers will have the same chance to lower prices, but nothing has been shown in the market yet. In a recent notification from one of our tipsters, EVGA has listed their available RTX 30 series cards, and a large majority of the manufacturer's GPUs are still relatively expensive. In addition to that, prices of graphics cards currently fall around 20 to 25% over MSRP and continue to drop, hinting at normalization by mid of 2022, which would be prime time for the launch of the next generation graphics cards. The timing on this is interesting though, because it's almost like there's speculation for the merge. Mid 2022 would have been June or July, which was the initial kind of expected move for the merge of Ethereum 2.0. If cryptocurrency mining is essentially one of the big contributors to the shortage, you would expect that normalization would actually be extended out a little bit further, the few months as stated by Tim Bako on Twitter for the merge, and to line up with that. However, because they're still, 20 to 25% over MSRP, and people are still not sure what they're thinking about with, of course, the merge, and if they want to continue to mine with GPUs, maybe it will stabilize by mid of 2022, and those that remain steadfast within the crypto mining scene, especially around GPUs, may get a significant advantage on pricing and availability here coming up. Now, I've already noticed Amazon has a ton of GPUs in stock. Best Buy is starting to keep a lot in stock. You can even go find some on shelves at Best Buy. Micro Centers are reportedly removing the one GPU limit every 30 days. And I'm getting various reports from viewers just across the board. Depending on the Micro Center you have, that may or may not be true, but definitely go check out over there. And then hopefully, we get rid of that 20 to 25% boost in price here shortly. But we also have some tweets. Of course, we have one from MSI for the 3080 Ti. We have EVGA, the restocked and reloaded tweet from EVGA. Gigabyte Aorus restocked as well. And so this is pretty much great news for stocking of GPUs. And then if the stock remains kind of in, remains in stock, right, and pushes out further, hopefully we see the prices start to drop back down to MSRP. I don't know exactly what's going to happen there. If you are looking at just upgrading for a gaming PC and you're fine with where you're at right now, then just continue on with what you're doing and wait and see if the pricing comes down. If you're mining, we get into that position of the idea that, you're either going to be expanding or you're going to die off. and the network gets very competitive. I haven't been expanding enough, therefore my revenue keeps just slowly ticking down further and further. You'll see that today as well. And I need to expand further to make sure that we are basically staying up to date with the Ethereum hash rate or just the GPU hash rate in general. This goes hand in hand, of course, with Asic mining as well. And hopefully we also start seeing similar stock availability within Asic miners, as well as the pricing coming down on those too, especially with the price of cryptocurrency and your potential ROIs getting pushed out further and further too. So there you go. It's great news in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, as well as the live chat. So there you go. Let's talk about WCCF Tech again. Intel Arc Alchemist A770 desktop gaming graphics card with 512 EUs and 2.4 gigahertz GPU clock speed spotted. Intel's Arc Alchemist A770 desktop graphics cards has made a surprise appearance within Geekbench OpenCL benchmark once again. This isn't the first time that the Intel's flagship Arc Alchemist configuration has been benchmarked with the Geekbench OpenCL benchmark, but it is definitely the first time that it's been listed in its proper naming. The Intel Arc A770 graphics card is going to be a high-end gaming graphics card featuring the full ACM G10 GPU, the flagship of the two Arc Alchemist GPUs. You can see here that the OpenCL score is going to be 85,585. You can get more information here. It was running with a 9600K, funny enough, and it shows the base frequency and max frequency, meaning essentially you could expect better performance out of a 12900K, especially, or a 12700K even. And then of course the 12900KS, which is by far the fastest gaming CPU out right now. But the Intel Arc 7 lineup is going to utilize the flagship ACM G10 GPU, and we already know about the mobility variants, which include the Arc A770M and the Arc A730M. Similarly, the Arc A770 is one of the top-end variants for desktop PCs that is equipped with the full ACM G10 configuration, utilizing 32 Xe cores and 4096 ALUs and 32 ray tracing units. Now, Geekbench doesn't list down the exact VRAM configuration and states 12.7 gigabytes, which is an incorrect reading, so it's most likely 16 gigabytes of GDDR6. Also, it was previously stated that the flagship graphics card is meant to be the Arc A780. So this could be a clock-optimized GPU variant, with the A780 launching as the limited edition model teased during the Arc A series launch event. Now, you guys can see here some of the scores for the Intel Arc Alchemist performance, and it should be right here. Yeah, so 85,000 here, beating out the RTX 2070 just by a little bit, and of course the 2060 Super, but falling short of the 6700 XT, falling short of the 2080, 3070, and 3070 Ti. So even at the top end, it's not looking super promising. However, where it does look promising is like in comparison. So for miners, I want to put your mining hat on here, okay? The 6700 XT, right, is just a 192-bit bus, while, you know, basically the 3070 Ti here that they have listed is the 256-bit bus. Now that's GDDR6X. So we're getting somewhere in between there for performance, because we're going to have GDDR6 with a 256-bit bus. And due to the performance being under the 6700 XT, what I'm hoping is that we see around 2060 to 2070 pricing, but with the mining performance of, you know, a 3070 Ti, or not really a 3070 Ti, probably more around like a 3060 Ti, somewhere around there, fully unlocked. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. The launch is supposed to be Q2 of this year. We'll just have to see where we go from there. It's actually, for miners, in my humble opinion, better news that it is not performing as well as the 6700 XT, etc. Because of that big bus width. It can mean that we have a huge memory bus on a cheaper GPU, right? We could see these price points falling in around the same price as you would expect something like a 6600 to a 6600 XT, maybe around that $300 to $400 range, but with the mining performance above that, closer to maybe an RX 6800, something along those lines. If we got a 60 mega hash a second GPU for the $400 range, it would be absolutely insane. And that's what I'm really hoping ends up happening here. So it's kind of good news that from the gaming perspective, from these OpenCL benchmarks, we're getting less performance than some of the higher end GPUs that do run these big memory buses. And we'll have basically a cheaper GPU with a big memory bus. And that's what miners want. That's what we want at the end of the day. So it's exciting. As for the performance, the Intel Arc A770 scored 85,585 points in the OpenCL graphics benchmark, which is very low for such a high-end graphics card. But that is to be expected since the graphics drivers aren't yet optimized for the high-end parts, and that's a fair point. Even the entry-level ACM G11 GPUs are yet to be properly optimized through drivers, so we can expect the performance to be improved in the coming months. Currently, the card is on par with the GeForce RTX 2070, and we can expect it to end up close to the RTX 3070 and 6700 XT by the time it launches by the end of the second quarter of 2022. All right, so let's go ahead and get into Twitter and the Elon Musk stuff. We're going to keep you guys up to date on it. All right, so yesterday I wanted to clarify a couple things from my Twitter yesterday. Of course, when I say I'm against Elon Musk purchasing Twitter, that's from a fundamentally principled standpoint. If I look at it completely objectively, and I said, well, if I had to choose from Twitter being on the board and Elon Musk owning it, I would maybe lean towards Elon Musk because of a few points, okay? And we'll get into those. Why do I not support it? Well, when we talk about basically the future of the internet, the future of Web3, etc., what I would consider is open source code and decentralization to be of paramount importance, right? That's kind of where I think everything should move. So moving from a state of board members as a public company into a private company with a single owner moves towards centralization, in my opinion. What is the caveat here for my personal opinion that changes this? And that is Elon Musk's previous statements that, Twitter should go basically fully open source. So in the case that we did see a purchase from Elon Musk, and there's a lot of other more interesting things going on too, but just a disclaimer, if it was going to be that the case is Musk purchases Twitter and completely open sources the code, I think that would be worlds better than where we sit at with Twitter as it sits. So that's my full kind of thoughts on the subject from an overall viewpoint. Let's kind of see what's going on with it though. Twitter closes down on session as Musk calls for shareholder vote. Here's what happened today in regards to Elon Musk's effort at a hostile takeover of Twitter. Twitter lost ground today, closing at $45.08 versus Elon Musk's cash offer of $54.20, as speculation grew about whether the board would approve a sale to the Tesla CEO. Here's where things get really interesting. Saudi Arabian prince and major Twitter shareholder Al-Wahid bin Talal, if I said that right, voiced his opposition to Musk's offer in a tweet, to which Musk responded in kind by asking how much Twitter the Saudis own and questioning the kingdom's views on freedom of speech. Obviously, this is at least, if we just take everything for face value, which I feel like you never can, but let's just take it for face value. Musk is trying to purchase Twitter to basically push for freedom of speech on the platform, which I think I'm all for. If we're looking at it face value, I think all of us should be for that. I know that there are some people that don't agree with that and some people that think freedom of speech should be limited in certain cases. as long as it's not illegal or harming some individual, like doxing, for example, I am for freedom of speech on Twitter. Stop and stop. No question about it. That's where I'm at. The interesting play here, of course, is the Saudi Arabia essentially not wanting to go through with it. They said something to the effect of the 5420 was not the true value of Twitter. They think it's worth a lot more. Why would they think it's worth a lot more? And this is kind of where it's interesting, where I think at the very least, Musk is exposing something here. And that is that the value of Twitter does not lie necessarily in purely the value of the shares, but also within the value of basically the control of speech, the power of this new medium, the social media, as an influence over basically international politics. And I think that it does expose that at the very least, and it's super interesting, right? So the Tesla chief also tweeted about the importance of allowing a vote on his bid, reminding the shareholders own the company, not the board of directors. Strike CEO Jack Mallers told CNBC that he supports Musk's purchase of the company, particularly if it means implementing cryptocurrency into the app. With the right leadership, Twitter could become a payment business, end quote, said Mallers. Musk also happened to be speaking today at the TED 2022 in Vancouver, Canada, where he expressed his desire for less regulation and more protections for freedom of speech. Looking at developments from Twitter's side, the board met at 10 a.m. Eastern this morning, but other than some loose chatter regarding discussions of adopting a poison pill defense, nothing tangible has leaked. Twitter also scheduled a company town hall for 5 p.m. Eastern. Meanwhile, the New York Post reports private equity firm Thoma Bravo is looking into putting in its own bid for the company. The share action today suggests the market is skeptical about Musk winning the company, with the stock price actually falling during a regular session to close down 1.7% at $45.08 versus Musk's offer of $54.20. Shares are up 3.5% in after-hours trade to $46.67. Now, there's a couple things you need to understand about Musk's strategy here. We could also just say it's straight up a pump and dump of Twitter, which is hilarious. But remember, he rejected the board. So one of the things that is interesting is because he rejected the board, he does have basically a legal route to take against Twitter if they don't accept his offer, which is interesting because essentially the decision to not sell to Musk would be against shareholder, basically the benefit of the shareholders, which they essentially have to adhere to as a public company. So there's a lot of, it's a very funny strategic play. I think that it wasn't one of those things where Musk just woke up and decided one day to try to buy Twitter. I think it's been planned out for quite some time. And look, it was at the very end of the day, it was at the very least a super smart move. Very funny too. Feels like it's a huge meme at this point. But once again, I would prefer that we move towards decentralization and open source software, especially as it pertains to social media. And I think that if there is a way in which Elon could purchase it out, make it private, and then just give it to the public, I think that would be the most ideal situation that we could see. Let's get into just first mover, kind of the wrap up for the week before we kind of go into this Easter weekend. And then, of course, we'll be back with the show on Monday. But we have Taiwan chip manufacturer TSMC remains a crypto skeptic. Major cryptos decline. So the company, which was burned during the last major crypto bear market, did not mention mining in its last earnings report. Bitcoin and Ether drop. So prices, Bitcoin and Ether and other major cryptos decline amid ongoing macroeconomic uncertainty. But Taiwan chip manufacturer has stayed largely out of the crypto mining fray. Technicians take is Bitcoin's bullish counter trend signals require weekly price closes above 40K. We're at 40,458. So that's interesting to look at. It could be a good sign right now as we look at it, post. I think this morning we woke up at 39,000, as you can see there. It kind of goes over your top gainers. Dogecoin at plus 1.6%. Obviously, anytime Musk does anything, Dogecoin pumps. I don't know why that's related. It's hilarious, but no matter what, it always pumps. Top losers, interestingly enough, and all of these are in relation to Ethereum, so pay attention. Solana down 4.5%. Cardano down 4.4%, and Ethereum Classic down 4.2%. The biggest losers of the week are all essentially kind of surrounding that Ethereum move to proof of stake, right? It looks like the mainnet shadow fork went good. People are, super bullish on Ethereum. The investors are. And when that happens, we had started to see like Solana and Cardano and Ethereum Classic start pumping like in this preparation for something to go wrong on Ethereum. And to me, this is just a signal of the public's perception of the Ethereum shadow fork on mainnet going well. Is that the case? I would have expected the public perception with a delay of a few months to actually have gone down for Ethereum. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. This is really interesting and it is definitely related to it. So other than that, let's go ahead and get into this big one, which was the TSMC, because, we're all about the hardware, the infrastructure. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, TSMC, posted another record profit for the quarter, hitting the $7 billion mark on continued strong demand for electronics and gadgets. But absent from TSMC earnings was talk of mining. On the company's earnings report for revenue by platform, you can find categories like smartphone, high-performance computing, Internet of Things, and automotive, but nothing about crypto mining. TSMC tends to be secretive when speaking about its customers. As a pure-play semiconductor foundry, the company has to be agnostic. Its engineers will fabricate chips for the fiercest of competitors like AMD and Nvidia, so it stays silent on any sort of market commentary. It wasn't always this way, though. During the first major Bitcoin mining boom of 2017, TSMC specifically called out crypto's rise and mobile's decline in a press release for its fourth quarter 2017 earnings. Quote, "Our fourth quarter business was supported by major mobile product launches and continuing demand for cryptocurrency mining. Quote, moving into first quarter of 2018, we expect the strong demand for cryptocurrency mining will continue while mobile products seasonally will dampen our business in this quarter." What does this mean? Remember what happened in 2018? Ha ha ha. Also, I can rhyme. That's the way it goes. We'll make a rap. But if you guys remember, we had that big old dip. So I think they're gun shy. They're gun shy to tell you that they're making money from cryptocurrency mining because from the perspective of their shareholders, it was like, oh, this crypto mining stuff's not going to go anywhere. We're making a whole bunch of money. And then boom, it crashed. That wasn't the case. And I think it's smart not to relay that information of how much you're making from crypto mining in their position, especially as we see the market moving sideways. I think they're gun shy. But this being crypto, fortunes fall as quickly as they rise. As crypto historians know, 2018 was a bear market for crypto, and this was reflected in TSMC's earnings as the year continued. By the third quarter, executives were blaming the further weakening of the cryptocurrency mining demand for missed revenue guidance. By the end of the year, the language had been revised to a big drop. It's almost a double digit. The 2018 bear market also hit other semiconductor companies hard too. Nvidia said that it had a glut of unsold graphics cards in its inventory, alongside an 18% fall in the company's stock price, shaving $23 billion off its market value, which Nvidia CEO Jensen, I'm just going to call him Jensen, that's how I know him, called the post-crypto hangover. Fast forward to 2022, and TSMC is still skeptical about crypto's long-term viability, especially when it's also dealing with a period of high demand from other customers. It's understood that TSMC just doesn't want to allocate its limited fab capacity to businesses that it considers fair weather friends that fluctuate order volume on seasonality, crypto's notorious bull run and bear markets. And we haven't even mentioned Bitmain. In early 2021, prosecutors in Taiwan charged Bitmain with setting up clandestine front companies to poach engineers from TSMC to help it accelerate development of new business lines and diversify away from crypto. Given Taiwan and China's tense political status, the Taiwanese government does not allow Chinese firms to establish research hubs to develop technology for export to China. Chinese firms are allowed to set up branch offices in Taiwan, but they need to be specifically registered with the government and are closely monitored. TSMC still allows for Bitmain to fabricate chips in its facilities, but TSMC requires the company to attest that its crypto mining chips don't violate any of TSMC's intellectual property. If Bitmain does, the company will be banned and its chips discarded. So it's easy to see why TSMC doesn't prioritize the crypto industry. The company bet big on crypto during the last bull run, and it was burned when the bear market started. Given the continued demand for semiconductors worldwide, there's also plenty of demand elsewhere. So we're seeing basically TSMC react completely different this time around than they did in 2018. They're gun shy. I think a lot of people are reacting completely different this time than they did in the last bull run, myself included. I think a lot of y'all in chat as well too. I am actually more positive than I am last time, specifically as in regard to cryptocurrency. But I understand exactly where they're coming from. They're going to be cautious. I think a lot of the investors, like even institutional investors that have been through this from the hardware perspective side of things, so your NVIDIAs, your AMDs, your TSMCs, whatever it may be, are going to be a little bit more gun shy. The interesting thing is we do have entry into the market from Intel, which is really, it'll be Intel's first time actually doing anything significant within cryptocurrency for hardware, both on the GPU side and the ASIC side. And so we are going to get more hardware availability thanks to Intel, and they're going to be kind of new to the scene. So maybe they'll be super bullish on it, and they'll still have to, utilize a lot of these fabs and so on to help obviously manufacture the parts and so on. But I think this is kind of interesting to see. I don't have a lot of insight on it other than, as we talked about, the 2018 crash, TSMC's gun shy, that sort of stuff. Let's talk about mining profitability for the day, though. It's not looking good. Yesterday, we ended up being at $198 with 0.065 ETH earned. It's really, really rough. Today, we're supposed to be at just refreshed. It was at like 203 US dollars and 0.06 something, but it's at 0.071. It looks like I'm sitting around 5.4 gigahash a second, $217 for the day. Not great. Definitely going to have to get picked up. On Luckpool, I want to say thanks to Real Gross for donating hash still. That is super awesome. If we take a look at our earnings, though, we're only at 1.3 Varus coin. I am looking at setting up the staking for that here soon and doing a video on that too, so you can stay tuned there. In what to mine, if we take a look at profitability for the 3090, let's adjust out Zelhash for the mini Z miner. Calculate this out. Ethereum's at $4.17 a day after power. Going down from there, we have Conflux at $3.03 a day after power. Once again, Flux Zelhash is more profitable on NiceHash at $2.99 a day after power. If you mine it directly, it's 20 cents less a day after power at $2.79. You have Cero at $2.81 a day. You have Ethereum Classic at $2.74 a day after power. Then down here, you have Ergo at $2.68 a day after power. And we have to go down a little bit further to get to Ravencoin at $2.28 a day after power. Let's take a look at mining pool stats. If we take a look at Bitcoin, we are still sitting between 220 and 230 exahash a second. It's about 4 exahash a second up today over yesterday. Even with prices declining, hash rate still is going up on Bitcoin, making it very difficult to get into the Bitcoin mining scene, unfortunately. If we take a look at Ethereum, we're still right at 1 petahash a second. No change there, even with the price drop. If we take a look at Ethereum Classic, we're at 28 terahash a second. No change there. Difficulty has steadied out along with, of course, hash rate. And the price is still under $40. So we're kind of sitting right around there. Let's take a look at Flux. And as we should expect, around 2 mega solutions a second, 1.93 is what's reported today, with the frequent spikes on both solo pools as well as non-solo pools coming from NiceHash, most presumably in an effort to basically rent enough hash rate to mine enough Flux to set up nodes. That is what's going on there. Let's take a look at Ergo. And Ergo still has that crazy difficulty problem. As it dipped down, we talked about yesterday, the hash rate has gone back up. So now we'll have our fun few days of low difficulty, and as the difficulty slowly adjusts, the delayed difficulty adjustment, we'll start to see the hash rate dive right back down and the difficulty dive right back up. It is the craziest coin to watch on the difficulty and hash rate charts for sure, and is intense. Let's go ahead and look at Ravencoin. And Ravencoin's at 3.29 terahash a second with a slightly declining difficulty. So there you go. I was going to cover mining pool profits, but they really haven't been up to date because they've lost a lot of their APIs. So unfortunately, we can do it though. Last 90 days, Flex Pool in first, Mining Pool Hub in second, Crazy Pool in third. Last 60 days, Mining Pool Hub in first, Flex Pool in second, ZET in third. Last 30 days, ZET in first, Flex Pool in second, Mining Pool Hub in third. Last 21 days, Flex Pool in first, Crazy Pool in second, Mining Pool Hub in third. Last 14 days, Crazy Pool in first, Flex Pool in second, Mining Pool Hub in third. Last 7 days, Crazy Pool in first, Flex Pool in second, Mining Pool Hub in third. Last 3 days, Crazy Pool in first, ZET in second, Flex Pool in third. And for the last day, Crazy Pool in first, Nano Pool in second, Flex Pool in third. Crazy Pool having some really crazy luck, especially with the low hash rate. So congratulations to anybody that is mining on Crazy Pool today. Let's take a look at ASIC mining hardware real quick via MinerStat, and we have the Jazz Miner at $103 a day. The KD6 still under $100 a day at $96.81. KD5 still around that $65 mark, no big changes. L7 still at that $40 mark, no big changes, up maybe a couple dollars there, but not too much. If we scroll down, we have the Antminer S19 Pro still sitting pretty low around that $15 US a day. So nothing too great there. Remember, today's sponsor was BT Miners. Please use the affiliate link down in the description if you are looking to purchase ASIC miners. They are really good at shipping. They have stopped selling the coin miner. Obviously, that's been an issue with me personally. But I'll let you guys know how that goes. Are there any new sales? Not currently. You're still looking at the S19 Pro being $9,500 US. It does look like the S19J Pro for the 100 terahash is up and listed and cheaper at $8,000 US. So that is a new sale there. And you have the 95 terahash S19 for $6,900. So those are kind of all your options right now that are available. And as far as sales go, if you wanted to get a Jazz Miner, they do have them. The 520 mega hash model though is $1,100. They don't have the 2500 mega hash model here, and I'm not actually even sure where you can source those. But it's kind of where you're at as far as all this goes. Their shipping for me from New York was around 3 days, so not bad on the shipping for a company that has to get a lot of stuff from China. So let's get into questions and answers for the day. Make sure you go ahead and pop them out to me. Super chats never required, always appreciated, first to be answered. And then, of course, tagging @SonOfATech turns the message orange, and I am able to look at it. Air to the Ron, thank you for the $20 super chat. Says, owning Twitter will also give Elon the AI and algo infrastructure behind it, which can be used in the Tesla robots and Neuralink. This yields a database of things, all things woke and conservative, and ignorant as well as factual. I don't know about the end of that portion, exactly what you're trying to say, but I appreciate the insight on maybe being able to leverage the algorithm and the AI for Tesla and Neuralink. That's definitely interesting. Snarkstobane says, as Son of a Tech in Saudi Arabia, they follow the classic barter system. Regarding Twitter value, they are just asking hi and wanting to engage in bartering. Witcherwork says, as Son of a Tech, can you define the definition of harming anyone? That is very vague and can mean anything, like the hurting of feelings, aka hate speech. Like I said, doxing would be a form of that, an intentional campaign to elicit the attack on one individual, maybe a physical attack. I would say that doxing someone where you expose their physical location could be construed in internet terms as a physical attack. Personally. Nicholas Pitt says, as Son of a Tech, did I just miss you talking about the new Flux staking using a smart contract on Atomic Wallet? No, I have not talked about that yet. Rad CPU Man says, as Son of a Tech, Caspa hash rate has jumped a bunch, I guess. Solo mining went from 12 blocks a day to 4 or 5. Yeah, with the upgrade, the hash rate went significantly up. Yesterday on the pool, it went, there are some people that should be not on the pool and should be solo mining, which I think in the Discord they were chatting about. Make sure you go check out the Discord. They are discussing all these things, but it went from 5T to 4T. Scott Schultz says, as Son of a Tech, you're right about the future of socials being distributed, but yeah, Elon owning Twitter is better than him not owning it. In the meantime, it is only better. All right, I want to be very clear. It is only better, in my humble opinion, if he immediately open sources the code as he has said that he would. If he doesn't, then I question his motives immediately. Right? Because he's saying one thing. If he does a different thing, then I immediately question the motives. CoinDexter says, at Son of a Tech, are you saving your Bitcoin earnings to cash out for enough Flux to start a node, or are you mining for the 1,000 Flux to start? I've been mining for it, but to be honest, like, guys, the channel's doing terrible. All my mining revenue is what's keeping me alive right now. Look, the interest in cryptocurrency isn't there. We're not stopping. We're not going anywhere. I got to do some things on my end to really up the content. I know you guys like the dedicated videos. We do have reviews coming. Hopefully that'll help. But look, man, like, this is what I do. I got a family to take care of. And so, no, it's not easy to just dump a couple grand into a node and rely on a single coin, right? Especially with the low payouts. Hawk Crypto Mining, thank you for the $5, says, in response to Ron, Tesla has the second biggest computer in the world. They don't need Twitter's infrastructure. Anyway, deploying Flux nodes the second day. And I did want to say, also in regard to the previous statement, I am a cryptocurrency miner. I am not a cryptocurrency investor. So I don't purchase individual coins. My primary focus, and I always like to try to focus on the few things that I can do that I already know how to do. My primary focus is providing infrastructure to the network. Yeah, nodes can do that. But my primary focus is GPU mining. And so really, especially as GPU pricing comes down, my primary focus is filling up 800 amps. That's my primary focus right now. It's not having some node for Kadena or Flux or whatever it may be, right? Like, that's my primary focus. If you get too distracted in too many things and I miss that filling up of the 800 amps that I need to do personally, then I'm not doing it correctly. So I have to be very careful. Jacob Twitchell says, at Son of a Tech, you mined 660,000 Psy coins in the past few months on your 2 HS5s on Luxor, and the pool says I found 4 blocks. Block rewards are 30K. Is it possible to solo mine Psy, and should I? I'm pretty sure it probably would be possible to solo mine Psy. I'm not really sure how. I would assume that it's similar to the rest, but I can't state that as a fact. But it would be setting up a node on the local network and then mining to that pretty much, right? Justin, make sure you do @SonOfATech. Makes it a little easier. I did catch it though. It says I cannot find the correct risers for the 3080 Ti you mentioned. AAA Wave sent me the wrong ones. Why would you not be? You mean it doesn't have the 6-pin on it? It only has like a Molex or a SATA power? Crescent Mining Company says @SonOfATech reply to the cast, but apparently an FPGA farm is mining now, and it's easier for them to mine to a pool versus solo for some reason. Thanks for the update. I didn't see that in the Discord. I know that a lot of people were looking at it yesterday. So FPGAs on the market, that's going to make it really hard for the GPU guys, but inevitably you would expect it to kind of go that route. I would because the ultimate goal would be to move to optical proof of work, right? So we can't expect Caspa, like I've said before, to just remain GPU mineable. It's a spec mining coin, right? Minor Illusion says, @SonOfATech, are you going to fill it with GPUs for now since prices of ASICs are still too high? That's the current plan that I'm looking at, yes, is that I'm going to be going back to GPUs. ASIC pricing is high, availability is low, and I think I'll just stick with the ASIC miners I have, get some good ones here and there, mainly focus them towards Bitcoin if I do get them, the SHA-256, just because of their longevity. But I think focusing on GPUs is what I'm going to be focusing on right now. Fraz says, @SonOfATech, the channel might not be as profitable as it was, but that doesn't mean the quality of your reporting is diminished at all. Thanks for what you do. Thanks, man. And like I said, I continue to do it. I want to continue to do it. I think that I really like the live show. I like being able to communicate with you guys. I think I learn a lot more this way. That's why I'm being a little stubborn with it. I think I'm trying to figure out if there's something else I need to do for the algorithm. If I look at comparisons, obviously like with Red Panda Mining, who just does the one video a day, doesn't do any live streams on that channel. I think he's got we kind of flip-flop back and forth sometimes, like in the past when I was doing the kind of the single video a day strategy. We moved over to this live stream strategy. It doesn't seem that the algorithm favors it. Part of that also has to do with, I'm sure, the type of content and how it's relayed through the algorithm as well. I don't want to go into too much detail there, but we could go freedom of a peach, as Fundum just said, is a biznatch, and you have to suffer those consequences as it comes, right? Jason Pop says, @SonOfATech, how do you find your mining location? Word of mouth realtor, scouring the internet, etc. It came first by looking for a big industry in an area that had renewable energy. That was really what it was. Looking for big industries around your area that are going to help regulate that price for you. They're going to have the lobbyists that are going out to the power companies and talking to them, not letting them raise those prices on your commercial rates. That's where it starts. And then it goes from there. Justin says, @SonOfATech, USB 3.0. I don't know what you mean for that. If it has 2 6-pins, it will require 5 PCIe power, 1 3080 Ti. Should only have one. It should only require 1 6-pin, most of those risers. Power Gamer says, @SonOfATech, does Bitcoin starts decentralized and end up centralized? No. So, okay. We would have to really start trying to define decentralization and the fundamentals surrounding decentralization and why. And I think this is where a lot of people get confused. And even I get confused sometimes because really early on, some of the worries that I saw initially was going to be ASICs always make it more centralized because you have one manufacturer at this point, which was Bitmain. Luckily, we're having more manufacturers. So I think if it has to do, okay. So if it has to do with real world power requirements to determine essentially the generation or the minting process, which is what Bitcoin requires, then you will have some sort of free market influence over it. So even if you are using currently like a piece of hardware that is proprietary and only made by a single company like Bitmain, which was the large case early on for Bitcoin mining, even if you have that, you still have the free market influences over the different power companies and so on. In addition to that, when that is set up and it starts to evolve, what you end up having is other people within the market or wanting to get into the market, like Intel, for example, right? Like the Koi miners, like the What's miners, more start coming in. And that is not primarily due to the proof of, well, it's not primarily due, how do I articulate this? It's not primarily due to the algorithm, but it's primarily due to the way the free market reacts to the use of power via a proof of work algorithm. So the number one step would be having a real world resource that influences the minting process. Okay. So you have to have the power consumption that's required to mint whatever cryptocurrency to actually affect the markets. That's the number one thing that has to be done, because then you actually have something in real world that is being translated into the digital currency world, and then that is how you are able to remain decentralized. It allows the free market to play with it and adjust through it. Where that breaks down, obviously, is not primarily going to be the less and less amount of Bitcoin that's being minted, but it would be if you swapped over from like proof of work to proof of stake, because you no longer have as much of that resource requirement for the minting process. You kind of have this minting process that is done through basically the ownership of the currency, right? So that's kind of where some of that goes into. So I think, as far as Bitcoin is concerned, I had quite a few worries really early on about like centralization, about big mining companies purchasing up a whole bunch of ASICs, taking over the network. At this point, I don't think that's even viable. I had worries about China controlling the majority of the hash rate, but once we saw China ban cryptocurrency and cryptocurrency mining, that sort of alleviated all that, because what we were able to see was the fact that the security on the network was not compromised, even though 80% of the hash rate was moving over to different geographical locations. So the security remained in place. That should have been if you want to look at the breaking point for Bitcoin, that really should have been where we saw it completely break down, was the ban in China, and it didn't break down. So that's a super good sign for Bitcoin. And even though it is moving more and more to the United States and getting larger in the United States, I don't think that you actually get any kind of benefit from a control perspective. I don't think you can fully just take control of Bitcoin by increasing the hash rate and putting it like, even a 51% attack or something along those lines. I don't think that that's going to necessarily be possible. I think that it doesn't move. I don't think that there's not a path to centralization that I would see. I think there's a path to regulation, but how would I put this? The path to regulation is not Bitcoin. It's a concern of Bitcoin itself, but a concern of the people that utilize Bitcoin. So just because government A tells you can only purchase Bitcoin by giving all of your information to said exchange, and that exchange is going to control it. So your purchase method of Bitcoin could be within a centralized solution, but that doesn't mean that Bitcoin itself is centralized. Does that make sense? I think that's the best way. I could ramble on for forever, but this is also me. Like, you're watching me live try to work out and articulate this in the best manner that I possibly can. And I don't think I'm going to get there today. I got to actually, you know what? I'm going to sit down for you. The question was also a little confusing in the way it was constructed. Let me sit down for you and actually start writing this out, and maybe we'll put it on my Substack. But Wes says, Ask Simon Tech, I've been busy over the past week and missed your show. Did you see where they are now saying that ETH change won't be in June? Yes, I did. You're killing me, man. Killing me, Smalls. Yes, we've been talking about that all week. Justin Pinson says, Ask Simon Tech, it came with USB 3.0 and 2 6-pin connectors on board. Huh. That's crazy. So you could potentially power what, 150 watts through that PCI rail? That doesn't even make sense. I haven't ever seen one of those. Can you tweet me a picture of it or send me the link to the one you got? Master Chief says, Ask Simon Tech, my rig of 1660 supers would display memory temps in MinerStat. Is there a way to get them to display memory temps in HiveOS? There is. There's a lot, I believe, Rabbit mining, Red Panda mining, Serpent. Everybody has guides on this. It is a third-party workaround, I think, right now. I don't think that HiveOS has officially released it. But basically, you're just going to go into your Hive shell and install, basically do a git command and unpack it, and then it starts working. They all have guides, so I didn't put one up, but maybe I could do that too. But there you go. Alexander says, Ask Simon Tech, make a second channel for Just Live so it won't affect this channel's watch time. Well, it improves watch time. It decreases views. And YouTube cares more about the view number, if that makes sense. Read to the Linkwish says, Ask Simon Tech, I live in the UK and this is the first time I've managed to catch you live now. Usually listen to it the next morning at work. Love what you're doing and much love from across the pond. Thank you, good sir, and thanks for the support on the channel. GoldenEye says, Ask Simon Tech, merge-wise, given they are not completing everything prior, what happens if they can't bring everything over to proof of stake as planned, too complex, etc.? Will this pause the actual merge? Well, the entire strategy that they started doing, remember, the initial idea was they were going to move proof of stake over, and it was going to include all the other things, the sharding, ETH 2.0 as a whole, the scalability options, the scalability of the execution layer. And remember, what they're doing is making everything as simple as possible to remove all of the benefits of ETH 2.0 and just get proof of stake. That's all they're doing. That means that they aren't going to be scaling the execution layer. They aren't going to be adding the shards in. They're doing none of that. All they're doing is just changing ETH1 to proof of stake. They're just taking Ethereum and converting it to proof of stake. That's all they're doing. It's terrible because, like, if anybody was actually invested in Ethereum and waiting for ETH 2.0, that's not happening in the way that it was sold to us. And the way that it was sold to us has already been implemented by other projects in much better forms. So it's pretty hilarious at the end of the day if you look at it from that perspective. But when you say too complex, it was too complex. What they're doing now with the rebrand, what they did with the rebrand, what they've been doing now is making it less and less complex to move to proof of stake. Because all they want to do is get the proof of stake as fast as possible now. That's all they're trying to do. They don't care about the sharding. They don't care about the execution layer, not basically scaling with the shards. They're not worried about any of that. All they're worried about is moving to proof of stake. That's all they care about at the end of the day right now. Jeff Rodriguez says $20 super chat. Thank you. Says, at Son of a Tech, payday Friday, spreading the wealth. I'm sure you helped me gain more than $20 worth of hash rate from your videos. Well, congratulations on more than $20 earned from watching the channel. Hopefully it becomes a lot more. And thank you for the $20 super chat. Let's see. Fundum says proof of take. Yeah, I mean, look. If any other project was like, yo, I'm going to need you to stake all of this, and then we're going to make a change and you won't be able to withdraw it right after the change, would you want to go ahead and stake? That's 11 o'clock today. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. And I'm headed off to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I'm going to take the kids today. So everybody have a good Friday, a good Easter weekend. Make sure you stay safe out there and just have a good one. I don't know that I'll have any dedicated videos this weekend. Obviously, like with the kids and stuff, I'm going to be spending time with them. I have lots of stuff I want to cover. I want to cover spinning up a Caspa node. I want to cover spinning up a Flux node. I want to cover reviewing hardware wallets. Bear with me. The reason we started doing the live show is because there was a lot of stuff I wanted to cover that I wasn't always able to cover. So that's how we get at least all of the news topics out of the way. And then I'm hoping that it starts alleviating a little bit more time. I am noticing, like with the clipping and everything here, I am spending a crazy amount of time on clipping, thumbnails, etc. I may have to kind of figure out the strategy. I have some people that want to help, so that'll be good. GoldenEye Forever, thanks for the $5 Canadian, says, appreciate you answering my questions the last few days. Anytime, man. Be sure to hit the like for me before you head out and share the show out. And then we do upload these over to Spotify. So if your preferred method, I find it easier to just play things on Spotify, podcasts, whatever it may be, when I'm driving in the car. So it is over there if you guys want to go over there on Spotify. There's no ad revenue over on Spotify at all. I don't know. Part of that's because there's just not enough views. So, but part of that is also, I'm not sure. I think some of the stuff might be a little bit broken. So most ad revenue comes from YouTube. And then, of course, where I would like to ultimately move, if we can ever figure out how the monetization is going to work, is over to Library and Odyssey, because I really want to support decentralization of our social media outlets. I'll see you next Tuesday.